Hello there. This is Dr. Barbara Young, the Total Woman Show. Welcome. You know, we welcome everybody to the show, and I'm really thankful we have an audience out there. Hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so glad you're here today for the show today. Well, we were so fortunate to have our guests come back. This is the second show, second week, and we wanted to have our guest, Mr. John Jubilee, come back. This man is incredible. So if you missed the first show, you have got to go back and listen to that show again. But as a reminder, I want to share this. Today, I have my co-host with me, Dr. Carol Soloway, who's a medical examiner and chiropractor. And of course, my guest today, Mr. John Jubilee. Again, he's incredible. He is America's, and I billed this last week, America's cellular health authority and best-selling author on Be the Best You Ever. Wow, that's a clever title. Where'd you get that title from? Be the best you ever.
Just from helping people be the best them ever.
All right. Well, he has transformed over 50,000 clients and 200 doctors' lives with what he calls the John Jubilee Transformation Experience. Now, on the show last week, he shared a lot about his personal encounters and his personal and physical transformation, which was very, very interesting. And I really, again, want to thank you for sharing. That was so beautiful. Your family and all the things that has happened in the past. Just a reminder that if any of you are going through anything out there, this is the show today that you may want to call your friends and tell them to listen to this show, because John has some very, very good information for you that's going to help you, that not only just will help you, but maybe others that you know that may be going through and need a personal and physical transformation. Because we're talking from the aspect of the spirit, soul, and body, because we are three-part human beings. And so I want to welcome you again, and I'm just happy that you're with us again, John. So when you were on the show last week, and we were learning about what a simple, all natural process and how it began for you. And I wanted to know about how people can sustain healthy weight levels using this cellular strategy that you've come up with. So share.
Well, first of all, thank you again. I'm so honored to be here with both of you, and what a dynamic duo you two are.
Yes, we are.
You two are. It's like Batman and Robin. Come on, superheroes.
I'm Batman. Yes, she is. I'll give it to her.
Well, it's so joyful that, and thank you for inviting people. Last week, I was sharing a lot on the personal side, because that's part of my spirit and my soul. And part of that spirit and soul is part of health. And so I really encourage as well for the listeners that if you didn't watch that part, because the spirit and soul is just as important as the scientific physiological side, of what we teach in cellular health. There's been a lot of amazing studies done, and now with YouTube and all the tools that people have, a simple one I like to share with people about how cells are affected by our spirit and soul, is a scientist did a simple study where he would speak to a water cell, and then he froze it. He flash froze it.
Wow.
And so if he said, "You're ugly and I hate you," and they freeze the cell, it looks really ugly. Looks like just an old thorn bush. But if he said, "You're beautiful and amazing," it looked like this beautiful snowflake. So even our cells instantly respond to what's coming into the soul and the spirit of a cell. And so we can't differentiate. We can't just set aside and say, if we do these right medical steps, we're going to be healthy. All of us know somebody that did all the right medical steps and they still died way prematurely or young or got a lot of diseases. So what I've learned, and everything I've learned is experiential. In the science world, we call that empirical evidence.
Absolutely.
So empirical evidence is indisputable and undeniable. If you stick your finger in a fire, it really burnt, it got a blister, nobody can deny that happened. So what I'm able to share with people is, out of a pure heart, totally pure motivation of just helping people, 10 years, 10 hours a day for free, just helping real people like you and me get healthy, I learned the things that I've learned today of, so simple. We have water in these glasses. They look like coffee cups, but they're water. And that's what we need in our cells is water. We need hydration in our cells. And we've really become, especially in America, we've become very dehydrated. Thank God. Now, look, my wife loves Starbucks, so I would never say anything negative about Starbucks.
Not on camera, anyway.
But it's a diuretic, right? So it dehydrates us. Now, I'm all for coffee. I recommend coffee on my protocol, but I also recommend you have to get your cell hydrated. And so since we're going to talk from the scientific side today, I teach cells are as hard as glass. Most people's cells are as hard as glass. What my protocol does is makes the cell like a sponge instead of glass.
Okay.
So now it can uptake the hydration. And as the doctor can confirm, the beautiful thing is if a cell is flat like a pancake and hard as glass, it's smashing the mitochondria in there. They really can't get around and fire how they're supposed to.
Which are for energy.
Exactly.
Yep.
Those are for lots of energy.
Yep.
And I call it the thermonuclear power plant. So when you get this cell like a big ball of a sponge, and now you got 200 to 300 mitochondria firing in there like a thermonuclear power plant, now the organ feels good and we feel good, our energy comes up, our brain can function. Something fun for all the viewers, if everybody just hold your hand up like this, spread your fingers
Those
like
in the
this.
audience, hold your hands up.
Now look, some people can't do it. Now see, look at Dr. Carol, she can do it.
I can't do it.
Yeah, and you can't do it, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Now
Poor
look,
baby.
and then go like this. So if you can take your hand and you can do this just means that your neural pathways of your brain, they can communicate well enough because it has to talk to your fingers and tell it to move. Now, 99% of people that can't do it, it's because of dehydration. They just don't have the hydration in their neural pathways. And it's such a simple fix.
Maybe
because
maybe I don't have enough hydration in my neural pathways.
Maybe not.
Because I wasn't able to do that.
Because if we're just 10% dehydrated, we lose half of the brain synapses, and then we don't have the capability of doing that. Now, the good thing is we can fix it. Now, interestingly, 21 years ago, when I did all my research and I realized what makes a cell healthy, hydration, so I decided, well, I have to measure my hydration of my cells. Now, Dr. Carol can appreciate this, so I get on the phone and I start calling medical supply. I'd like to get a device to measure the hydration of my cells, and they're going, what? Hello?
Hello?
We don't have one.
But we can sell you a thermometer. No.
So finally, I find one place. They say, we have a device that will measure that hydration. It's $8,000.
Excuse me.
So I paused.
$8,000?
$8,000. I said, I'll take it. Because I realized I have to have this because this is the most important measurement of the human body. The earth is mostly water. We are all supposed to be mostly water. So if I can't measure how much of me is water, I don't know how healthy I am. So I know I have to get this measurement. So I get this device, $8,000. And I'm measuring myself as I started helping hundreds of people. I'm measuring everyone's hydration. Now, I have literally spoken all over the world, sometimes 4 or 5 cities a week for the last 21 years. I've spoken in front of very large audiences, and I always ask this question. How many of you, your doctor has measured your hydration? Raise your hand. And how many hands do you think have ever went up?
Very few.
None. The doctor is right. None. Not one hand has ever went up. Isn't that fascinating? That no one is measuring what the hydration level is. That would be like never checking the oil in your car. It'd be like never checking the water level of your car. That's how important it is to the human body. So with putting that whole focus on what is the hydration level of the cells, of getting healthy, And interesting, we're in California today. I met a world champion athlete here in California, and we were at, some big mansion party, and I said, I'll bet you $1 million you're dehydrated. And they said a few words that aren't in my vocabulary. And they said, I drink 3 gallons a day of Kangen water, reverse osmosis ionized water. I said, I don't care if you drink 8 gallons a day.
Your cells are hard as glass.
Your cells are hard as glass. I said,
oh, wow.
They said, look, I won't bet you, but I'll let you measure it. Because now today, you can buy a device that will measure your hydration. You can buy it at Bed Bath & Beyond.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not kidding.
Okay.
So I always have one with me. So I will go out to my Hummer, which is a hydrogen Hummer, by the way. It's powered by hydrogen. So I bring this device in and measure them, and guess what?
You're dehydrated.
They're dehydrated at 3 gallons a day of Kangen water.
Wow.
Now you can look on YouTube and see who this athlete is, because they went on YouTube with me because they said, John, oh my gosh, you are really going to change the world. I cannot believe I am a 10-time world champion, athlete. If I'm dehydrated at 3 gallons a day, the whole world must be dehydrated.
But can I back up and ask about medical doctors if they don't know about this? I mean, would they be knowledgeable about this device, or about the fact that they need to measure your dehydration, or patients? I mean, how many doctors are actually trained in this?
Well, here's something interesting. And again, my life is just real experiences.
Yes.
So I was asked to speak at a convention. I speak at medical conventions. I was speaking in Las Vegas, and I got a phone call. John, where are you? And I said, oh, I'm in Las Vegas. They said, oh my word. They said, I'm with Steve Wozniak right now. He's that Apple computer guy. They said, could you come over here? There's someone I want you to meet. And what are the chances? We're both in Las Vegas at the same day.
Right.
So I go over to meet this person. They introduce me to a person. Next thing I know, I'm sitting at dinner, and this person looks at me and says, no one in the world knows this science. Will you come share at the United Nations?
Wow.
And
that's significant.
And I'm sitting here thinking, is this person being serious?
Are they really putting me on? Are they putting me on?
And so I'm very open-handed, and I said, sure, absolutely. And of course, I'm really thinking, does this person even have the qualifications to be inviting someone to? And the next thing you know, I'm receiving emails to, be at the United Nations. And it just so happened I was speaking in New York the day before this invitation. So I thought, well, even if it's not real, I'm there anyway.
Okay. Wow.
So I stayed at there's a hotel that's right across the street from the United Nations. So I stayed right there. And there's a United Nations headquarters. And then across is the real United Nations. So I do my one event, and the next morning I go to the United Nations that's attached to the hotel there, and I'm checking in through security, and they go, "Oh, Mr. Jubilee, you're over in the main building. You're in the main auditorium." And I said, "You mean like the real?" They go, "Yes, sir. Yes, you need to go across the street." And I'm still sort of shaking my head, I'm just this kid from Columbus, Ohio, the inner city, and so now I'm walking into the United Nations, and I didn't realize, when you see it on television, it looks like it's one floor, right? Mm-hmm. It looks like it's one floor. It's not. It's this huge theater. There's the one floor, but then it's tiered in levels of like stadium seating. Yes. So I walk in at the top and, just being real here, my mouth's like, oh my gosh, I'm walking into the United Nations. And everyone's got their headsets in, every race and ethnicity is in there. Right. So I'm kind of walking in with my jaw hanging open, and I'm looking at the floor, realizing I'm headed for the floor. And I bump into Steve Forbes. Literally bump into Steve Forbes. And I said, oh my gosh, Steve Forbes. I said, are you speaking here today? And I said, let me walk in with you so we don't get in trouble if I get thrown into the principal's office. So I got to walk in with Steve, and you don't get in trouble when you walk around Steve
When you walk with Steve Forbes, I don't think so.
But that day was the first time my light bulb went off like, oh my word, nobody knows the importance of hydration of a human cell, and no one's measuring it. And so we have to share. We have to teach people the importance of hydrating a human cell.
So did you make your speech that day, and how did it go?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what was more amazing than sharing. Because, look, I'm just being for real. You got a bunch of people with earpieces in their ears. You don't know anyone even understands what you're saying.
But it's translated.
Yeah.
They're headphones, but
right.
it's being translated.
But they could be listening to their iPod. Who knows?
Yeah.
But here's what did happen. I got 2 invitations to speak in China, to speak in Japan, just speaking to world leaders on the floor afterwards. Was so profound.
I bet that was.
Because people were just grabbing me saying, I have never heard of this science in my life. I've never heard of this science in my life. Everyone needs to know. And just a perfect example, high blood pressure in the United States. 1 out of 3 men 40 and over have high blood pressure.
I believe that.
And I'm a simplifier.
Probably even more.
I'm a simplifier of complex things.
Yeah. Why do we have recent, not cutting you off, but recent heart attacks of young men who had heart attacks?
It's exactly
which you would
why.
not believe. So probably, something was going on that was undiagnosed.
Well, it's exactly why. And the reality is it's such a simple fix. Think about this for a moment. An artery, if it's supposed to be this big and it gets dehydrated, it gets this big. It's too small.
Right.
It's like it's supposed to be the size of a straw, and instead it's like a teeny stirrer straw. So it gets too tiny, and that makes the blood pressure go up.
Right.
And so here's what I learned. All that is dehydration. As you hydrate all the cells, it just opens right up.
Okay.
And the other thing, what always comes with high blood pressure is usually high cholesterol. And it's because by the way, cholesterol is actually a good thing. It gets a bad rap.
Well, you can have the good cholesterol, or there's a bad cholesterol.
Yeah, but that cholesterol, people have high cholesterol because their body's trying to protect itself. So when the artery shrinks up, the body overproduces the cholesterol because it's like Teflon. It's like a slick, slippery substance. It gets in the artery. It's trying to help the blood get through there to keep people alive. So what I found is as the artery opens up, the blood pressure goes down, the high cholesterol goes away.
You just gave me a thought that while you were talking about this, if hydration were possible to prevent maybe even Alzheimer's, because Alzheimer's is simply cholesterol in the brain. So, all of a sudden that thought hit me, because my husband had dementia, and I remember the diagnosis was the doctor was saying he had plaque in the brain, more or less, and there's no way to reverse that process.
Well, and
I mean that medical science has come up with yet. Maybe they're working on it. I don't know.
Sure. Well, the other side of that is if you're dehydrated and half of your brain synapses and it can't flow like this, then the body is trying to overcompensate by overproducing cholesterol and plaque of doing that.
It's very interesting. Very interesting. So what now is the 88 transformation 88? It's 88 days. And
88 days.
And so what are we doing in 88 days?
So 88 days is people ask me that all the time. Why is it 88 days? Is that just a cool number? It's like, no. I will tell you a cool story of the 88. The 88 is the cellular cycle of the human body. So some cells have a longer cycle. Some cells are 7 to 10 years in the human body. But the general cycle of a cell is 88 days. And so that's why there's an 88-day cycle for people to get themselves healthy. There was 2 brothers in Indianapolis, and if people click on a link, they can actually see this story. But can you imagine, I was on live radio and television, and I had these 2 brothers, and their father had died in his 50s, and they were headed on the same path. They had exactly every same symptom.
Genetic.
And I said, well, I'll tell you this. I said, first of all, you guys are, your focus is your weight, because all they focus on is weight. All I focus on is get healthy from the inside. The side effect is you'll lose fat. not weight, but you'll lose fat because you won't lose any water, none. So I told him, I said, you won't lose any water. I said, but I'll guarantee you both you'll lose 100 pounds of fat in 88 days. And guess what they said?
Not possible.
They said, actually, I wish they'd have said that. They said, you're a liar. They said, you are a liar. I said, well, we'll see. I said, so if you agree to accept this challenge, I'm going to give you this program. Let's come back in 88 days and let's see what happens. Well, this is the Jonathan Bird racing family. They're a very famous Indianapolis 500. Their car is the fastest car in the history of the Indy 500. It's in the museum. It's the 82 car.
Oh, wow.
So 88 days later, they come on. I said, so what do you have to say? They said, well, you're still a liar because we lost over 110 pounds of fat.
Wow.
They said, but we're all following medication. We have no high blood pressure. They said, and we are changing the number of our race car to the 88 car. And we're going to put your name on it.
Oh, that was great.
Wow.
That was great.
So we have a cool story with Indy 500.
Wow, that's great.
And I'm just thinking of 8, 8 on its side is infinity. So
That's interesting. It is. And it's like a new beginning, right? In the Bible, 8 is a number of new beginnings. Right. It's like a double new beginning.
Right.
Physically, spiritually.
Emotionally, really. You look at all 3 parts.
Well, it is all 3 parts. And if someone has a migraine headache, they can't be the best wife, the best mother, the best spouse, the best business person, the best husband. And it's the same way with sickness. We can't be our best when we're sick. And so it's all connected. We can't be healthy emotionally or spiritually when we have physical ailments in our body. And so it is a beautiful connection because part of what also, as I shared with the scientist that said what you speak to a cell impacts the cell. So part of the 88-day transformation protocol is we don't even let people buy our program, by the way, unless they make 3 commitments. We tell them you can't even buy it unless you make 3 commitments. They have to commit, they'll do it for the full 88 days. They have to commit that they'll spend 1 hour a day doing what we teach them to do, which is build the house. Build a house, move in a house. It's a lot easier to maintain a house, right, than to build it. So we teach them, look, it takes 88 days to build your house, but then you get to maintain it. You notice at the break I was eating cookies and, and I had really cool pizza cookies before I came here, at one of your California restaurants here with ice cream on top of it. And people will come up to me and go, man, you're Mr. Cellular Health. How are you eating that stuff? And I say, hey, I built my house. Now I'm living in it. Once you build it, you reset your hypothalamus, you reset your metabolism, and you can eat like a teenage kid. But there's always moderation. But then we teach them this, but they have to watch the videos every day. So we have a video. For 88 days? For 88 days.
Okay,
it's
so
just a 5 or 10
you have
minute video.
to watch the video. Okay.
Because part of those videos is speaking life to their cells.
Right. Okay.
And helping them learn. Do you know laughter is really a healthy thing?
Well, I know, and there are a lot of researchers coming out about that, particularly in the hospitals, people who are looking at stuff that makes them laugh, they get better earlier than people who are looking at other kinds of things. But
But we're drawn to the negative. You say you watch something positive, but people are just, drawn. A crash or something, and you have all eyes on it.
Look at all this Game of Thrones. Hate to bring that up, so I hope nobody out there.
It's like a bug,
don't write me a letter
to the light, right?
Don't write me a letter about it. And it's like, all this addiction to a lot of this stuff, which isn't really building up your cellular structure. Is it building up you mentally, physically in a positive vein? Walking zombies, and I didn't even know anything about the Game of Thrones, and really, hate to bring that up, so don't write me a letter about it. But
write a letter,
a critical letter about it. But basically,
or write the letter, but get transformed and see if you still are a bug to the light. See if you're still drawn to that. Which brings up a point too, John. When you talk about anything that we promote or anyone promotes that they find it's a good thing for people, they're going to be the naysayers. Have there been people who tried the 88 days and then came back and said, oh, it didn't do anything for me, and it was all a bunch of crap? Had any of that? Well, Well, let me back up one step before that.
Okay, go ahead.
So I love to say this to people, and if I may say it to your viewers, be a skeptical person. Be skeptical. Smart people are skeptical people. And I love for people to be what I call beautiful, beloved skeptics. Be a beautiful, beloved skeptic. Go right ahead. Hey, I'm a scientist. I'm a mathematician. I'm skeptical. But I'll try something to prove it out.
Well, you did try a lot of things. You said that in an earlier show, that you tried different things. And which, of course, I think nothing ventured, nothing gained. That's been said. So if you don't try.
Well, the definition of the word science is the search for the truth that is
it lies
known,
out there somewhere.
That is known. So science is a search for truth that's known. So if you can prove it, then you know that it's real truth, it's real science.
Okay.
So what I've always done is taken the approach to tell people, go right ahead. Be as skeptical as you want to be, but do it. If it doesn't work, I'll just give you back your money because I don't care about your money. I did this for 10 years for free, for 10 hours a day. I don't care about people's money. But I can tell you this, to answer your question. Right now, as of today, give or take 5,000, I know I'm for sure 53,000 NO. There's not a human being on the planet Earth that can look at me and say, that didn't work for me. Not one.
So for this 88-day...
But there's probably 30,000 that at the beginning said, this isn't going to work. This sounds too good to be true. This sounds too good to be true. And I'd say, yeah, it does sound too good to be true. Be skeptical, but do it anyway. But I can tell you in 21 years, 200 doctors, 53,000 people. I say, go right ahead. Be skeptical, but do it. As a mathematician, I can tell you from just even purely a weight loss side, which our society is so geared on the weight loss thing.
Yeah.
Now, my focus is cellular health.
Right.
It just so happens to be a side effect. The average woman loses 15 to 20 pounds of fat, not weight, fat, in 4 weeks.
But then that fat then causes her to be diminished in size. Right? I mean, if you're losing the fat and it's in certain areas, so then you're going to be smaller in the waist and smaller.
No,
of course.
Look, and you feel 100 times better.
But the thing is how you feel physically.
Because your organs aren't being suffocated. But I'm telling you that it's rare that you get a good side effect. It's rare that you get a good side effect of these programs that people offer, right? They usually have all these dangerous side effects. Right. You made this, you made that, you made this. You ever listen to the second half of a drug commercial?
Oh, I heard it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to doubt it. But John, tell me in this last few minutes we have the show, what would you like to say to people if they wanted to get this Transformation 88-day program? How could they get it?
Well, here's what I'd say. First of all, be a beautiful, beloved skeptic. Be as skeptical as you want to be. Our program's called Energized Health. Because we energize your health, energizedhealth.com. Okay. It's energizedhealth.com.
Energizedhealth.com.
Yep.
And then they can reach you.
Yep.
Okay.
And do your research. YouTube, I have thousands of YouTube videos. I have thousands of documented testimonials, doctors and scientists and every kind of patient, out there. Do your research and just take care of yourself. Okay. I teach people, focus on yourself first. Even Jesus taught that, right?
Yes.
You can't love someone else till you love yourself first.
Absolutely.
Love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Right.
So it's like, love yourself, take care of yourself.
Right.
Steve Jobs was a skinny guy.
Right.
And he's dead. And he had billions of dollars. There's only two priceless things on the planet, you and your health.
Right.
That's
Absolutely.
it. Everything else you can buy with money. So I tell people, love yourself, take care of yourself, and they can contact us through the website.
Well, this is John Jubilee that's been here today, and Dr. Carol Soloway, my co-host. I tell you, this has been really inspirational and eye-opening. I don't know, maybe I better start since I couldn't do that, I guess I better start Transformation 88 program, okay? So maybe I need to be signing up real quick. But John, thank you so much for being on the show. We'll have to have you again, I'm sure. Okay, it's my delight. And
thank you,
have you, fabulous lady. We got you on next week because we got to really grill you on what you've been doing.
All right.
And so thank you guys for tuning in to this show this week with Mr. John Jubilee. And it's been a pleasure. I hope you enjoy it, but absolutely call your friends, tell them they must watch this show. Transformation 88. You want to get Transformation 88 program. I think I'm going to sign up since I couldn't do the sign. So anyway, love you. And audience, thank you for being here today. We appreciate it. And come back next week. We have another show. We're going to have Dr. Carol Soloway on the show. So thank you. Love you guys and have a very blessed week. God bless. Yay! Yay, yay, yay. You're worth it.